Welcome to Streaming with Two Dudes, a podcast about all things streaming. Each episode, we break down some of the best series, songs, movies, and shows. I'm one dude, Parker.
I'm the other dude, Jeff.
And dudes, this month our theme is Two Dudes on Two Dudes. And this episode, we're talking about Do Revenge. But first, Jeff, what else have you been streaming?
Well, this may come as a surprise to you, but we did happen to stream a really good Christmas movie over the last week.
Okay.
And it's another Hallmark, and it was called Three Wise Men and a Baby.
Okay.
And for it to be a Hallmark movie, it was actually really good. It's been one of the better Hallmark Christmas movies that I've seen in a good while. Definitely had the vibe of, do you remember Three Men and a Baby?
Oh yeah, I kind of
Probably.
Whenever you tell me the name of the movie, that's exactly what I was thinking of. That's why that's kind of why I chuckled.
Definitely a very similar concept, but I mean, it was good that it wasn't the traditional Hallmark love story at Christmas time type deal. So a little bit different of a storyline, but it was actually pretty well executed. So it's even if Hallmark's Christmas isn't your thing, maybe give that one a watch because it is a little better than a lot of their other ones. So
okay.
What about you? What Christmas movie did you dive into?
I have not been watching a Christmas movie yet. I am going to talk about a show that just actually is still pretty new. It's called Wednesday, based on Wednesday Addams, the character from the Addams Family.
I've been seeing a lot of headlines lately.
Yeah, so it's not really based around it's like, it's called Wednesday, so it's focused on her. And so it's her and this school that she attends that's kind of like a boarding school for, I guess, outcast type characters. Like, that's where you would find like your werewolves and like, your invisible people and stuff like that, your monsters, et cetera, et cetera. And so like, that's kind of what it is. I don't really care for the Addams Family of it all so much, other than the fact that the girl that plays her, I'm horrible with names because I've seen her in a few things, but I can't remember her name exactly. I want to say it's something Ortega. But anyways, she's great as Wednesday Addams, and it has the thing in it, or thing, not the thing, but thing. The hand.
Yeah.
They're both like the main characters, and they're pretty great as those two characters. It doesn't really show much the rest of the family too much. But there's other people like I won't spoil too much of it, but I will say some of the people that were in the 90s films make an appearance. So it's pretty fun. I do enjoy I enjoyed it so much, and I really hope they do a second season. So and Tim Burton's directing it as well. I don't know if you're like a Tim Burton fan, but yeah, and it's actually one of those things that you can kind of tell, but it's not like over the top Tim Burton style. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like it's not like his typical like over the top, but yeah, it's definitely, you can tell it's there, but it's just not too much. It's great.
Interesting to hear your take on it, because I know, like I've seen it in the news quite a bit lately, or I guess on my feed and the headlines and stuff, and I've noticed a lot of the reviews haven't been extremely favorable for whatever reason. Like I said, I didn't really read them. Like I said, just coming across the headlines, there was definitely a number of critics that weren't huge fans.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it, especially like it pertaining to the Addams Family, because that part of it, I could see it just being its own thing. Like it's honest, like the fact that it's the Addams Family has very little to do with it. It honestly, it reminds me a lot of Riverdale. In that aspect, like where it's just like the fact that it's just this story going on around familiar characters, and even the mystery arc of it all is kind of similar to Riverdale. You would probably really enjoy it. So I would say, like, if you enjoyed especially the first season of Riverdale, you'd really enjoy Wednesday. So and people didn't really give Riverdale a lot of praise either. So take that, how you will. But that would be actually a really apt comparison for me, anyways. It actually gave me a lot of season 1 Riverdale vibes. So,
and what does that stream on?
It's on Netflix. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay. So, I love season 1 of Riverdale. So yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, I know you do. So, so it's definitely worth checking out for sure.
And actually, Riverdale probably plays a small role in why we even chose the movie we did for this week.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you want to, I usually kind of kind of go over everything, but I'll let you go into that and let you know, tell me what kind of like interesting tidbits and like who's in it, where we know him from, and all of that. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the two main characters, which kind of fit our theme for this month, as far as the two dudes on two dudes. And of course, if you've listened to us enough, you know the term dudes is not exclusive to the male gender. And we had a good mixture. This would make two movies in which the focal point was on two female, and we had two that focused more on, you know, we had the Boondock Saints, which was twin brothers, and Harold and Kumar, best friends. And then last week we did a what Sierra Burgess is a loser, one of Parker's
Yep.
favorite. Obviously, focused in on two girls who became close friends, and I thought this one was a good tie-in because it was an unusual friendship that kind of played out. But the
Yeah.
two main actresses, Camila Mendez, which of course most people will know from Riverdale. I'm not sure what she did before Riverdale, but I know Riverdale is really what put her on the map, and she's done a number of stuff since then. But she's great.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I know her from.
And then of
That and
course,
social media.
oh yeah. And then Maya Hawke, which I mean we're huge fans of, and for anybody that's not been under a rock probably knows that she was on Stranger Things. She's great. We're both big fans of both those actresses from those shows. And then a guy named Austin Abrams, which we've actually have talked about him recently. If you remember, he was the guy that had a little issue with Harold the Scarecrow.
Oh, that was him.
That was him. And he was also the guy I mentioned in another show I recommended, Lillian Dash on next
Okay.
Netflix. So yeah, I'm really starting to like him. He's a really good actor, and he plays his roles very well. And another little side bit, he didn't have a major role, but the guy that played JD, which was kind of like, what was the character's name? I just said it. Austin Abrams was the actor. Hold on a second.
Max.
Max. Yeah, he played Max's kind of best friend, right hand man. But he was from the show Outer Banks. For anybody that's huge fans of that.
That's a
So
show that
yeah,
I've always wanted to check out, but I've just never watched. I need to
dude,
watch that one.
you got to check it out. They're killing me with this long delay for season three. I think I finally heard or read that it's supposed to come out either like February or March. But yeah, it's been a long delay for that one. So yeah, definitely a lot of as far as like Netflix and your streaming services, some big name players. I'm just curious, and maybe you feel the same. When does Maya Hawke start getting some A-list roles, or is she the type? Because you have some actors and actresses that could get those roles all they want, but they're more into the arts, or they're more artsy, so they don't really prefer those roles. Maybe that's where she plays.
I wouldn't
That
say she's necessarily artsy because I mean she's in Stranger Things and she's in this film and I mean she's making some Netflix films, you know what I'm saying? So it's like even though Fear Street wasn't, originally made for Netflix, that was also something that she did earlier on as well. So I don't feel like that's what's holding her back. I feel like she'll do indie films and continue to do those kind of things, but I also think that given the chance, I think she can do great things. And I think we're just waiting for her to, make that transition. And I think it's coming, she's probably just hasn't found that right role yet. She's probably picky with what she does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely, if she's not like top 20 up and coming stars, I would be shocked just because, I mean, and maybe I'm biased, but just the fact of how talented she is. And of course, she has famous parents in the industry. You think there's roles just knocking down her door left and
Yeah.
right. And like you said, maybe she's just, obviously she's not desperate. So she can be choosy. She's not hurting for money or fame or anything like that. So maybe she is just being very choosy with which roles that she plays. But that's kind of it. That's all I got as far as interesting tidbits or kind of some backstory on some of the actors. A very large Netflix influence, which you're starting to see that more and more, kind of like you would, whether it's HBO or some of those other ones, or even like Hallmark. They kind of have their stars, and they do a lot of movies and shows for that same service. So you see a lot of that in this one.
Okay, cool. I mean, there is one actress that is she's also kind of like familiar to Netflix, the Netflix family, I guess you would say. And she started 13 Reasons Why. She played this character named Jessica, I believe, and I forget the actress's name, but she played one of Drea's friends, the main
Okay.
friend, her main friend or whatever, the one that actually, like, turned against her the full year, but then kind of came back around
Yeah.
after she was in the accident. She played her. So she's, it's kind of funny how that they kind of have this whole how Netflix kind of picks the same people,
Yeah.
that their app features a lot of. Because I mean, even though Riverdale's a CW show, I feel like that's where it's one of those shows where Netflix is where it found its real audience and it's continued to, stay on there. Because I mean, I know that's where, with the exception of one season, I mean, that's where I watched all of Riverdale. So,
Well, I
uh,
mean, kind of like Cobra Kai. I mean,
right.
it started off as a YouTube original, but it really found its footing when Netflix, kind of took over.
Yeah,
So,
which I mean, they actually took over like the production and everything, but like with shows like Riverdale and Breaking Bad or The Office, like those shows actually, they were never owned by Netflix, but that's where they found like a huge audience, and that's kind of where they gained, like, I guess, their huge followers from people that just had the app, especially earlier on the years whenever Netflix was buying out properties and before they started their own stuff. That's kind of how a lot of shows actually got a lot of their comebacks. Just little streaming trivia for you. So yeah, so I'm going to do basically what I did last week, where I try to remember as much of the plot as I can. And we are going to have Jeff rate me at the end of it on how much I covered. If I covered enough of it, if I covered all the important stuff, he's going to rate me like I'm in school on a pass fail, A, B, C, D plus, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Let's get into it. We have Drea. She's this she's a popular girl. She's going to the school in I'm not sure exactly. I guess it's just like a private school, because she's there on a scholarship. I know that, but she's dating this popular guy. His name is Max. He's kind of, he's telling her he loves her. They're about to have, like, their summer break, and he's like, "Hey, give me can you send me a video so I can remember you?" And she, talking about, like an intimate video, and it winds up getting leaked, and she blames him, and she becomes like this social outcast. So over the summer, she bumps head with this girl named Carissa at tennis camp. While she starts kind of like setting her up on stuff and getting her in trouble. Kind of butting heads with her because they're into it with each other. And then this new girl starts at the tennis school, and her name is Eleanor, and her and Drea become friends. Drea's car doesn't start, and so Eleanor offers her a ride. Eleanor, kind of tells her about how she knew this girl that is at the tennis camp, and how she basically outed her and humiliated her at camp. And Drea, she can't believe how the girl would do that, and they kind of bond over this story. A few things happen. They kind of realize that, hey, we can get revenge on each other's people that we're mad at, on each other's exes, and no one, will get away with it because no one knows that we know each other. They do that, and they start doing it. Chaos ensues. Eventually, Drea finds out. No, no, no. Wait. Before she finds out, part of the plan was that Eleanor was supposed to, get close to Max, kind of out him in front of everybody, but things fall through, and she starts to kind of like, they're at a party, and Drea crashes it. Her and Eleanor kind of have a falling out. Drea's car won't start, and she finds out that the last time that her car wouldn't start, her spark plug had been taken out. So she kind of puts two and two together, and she goes and decides to talk to Eleanor's ex, and she finds out that the story that Eleanor had told her was actually her, and she was the one that had been pretty much helping Eleanor destroy her own life this whole time, and that Eleanor was actually getting revenge on Drea this whole time, which was a great twist. I would honestly, I didn't expect that one coming. That was pretty great the first time I saw it.
I was actually just getting ready to ask you that. Did that really catch you off guard? Did you see that coming at all?
Yeah, I did not. And so actually the first time I watched it, I was like, oh snap, these two are not even gonna be friends. And I was like, we agreed on I was like, even though like we had both agreed on this film, like I was like, I'm the one that suggested we just do that one this for this one. And so I was like, I'm gonna be the one that doesn't pick out a two dude movie this this month after last week.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those movies where you sense there was going to be a twist of some sort. You had that feeling because otherwise, if the movie just played out like you thought, there was just like, what was the point?
Right.
But definitely not the twist I was expecting.
Yeah, yeah. I did
So
not expect that either.
very well done.
Right. And so Drea goes back to her house and Eleanor's there and she kind of like confront each other. And then let's see what happens right after that.
Well, I know you
Uh,
had that
oh, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. So Drea leaves and she gets into a car wreck where she gets into the hospital and all of these people, start to feel sympathy for her and she actually regains popularity and she also finds out that Eleanor was the one that purposely hit her in the car, in order for her to like this was all part of her plan to get her back into, the popular crowd. And then during the party, Drea and Eleanor are kind of getting, snippy back and forth with each other in front of everybody. And Drea being, not really learning much of her lesson this whole time, starts to go off on Eleanor and reveals who she was during her past, and everybody starts to laugh at her,
Nosy
and
Nora, Nosy Nora.
yep, and making fun of her. And then she runs out of the room, and then Drea automatically, like realizes what she's done, runs after her and chases her, and apologizes to her, breaks down. The two are starting to have a moment, and Max comes out, and basically tells Drea that she's a sociopath, and that he's just like her, and blah blah blah, and they were made for each other, and they can take over everything if they just join forces, and blah blah blah. But unbeknownst to him, he is being recorded this whole time, and they pretty much out him at his own party, and the two become close again, and they are friends. And Drea even says they're possibly soulmates, because they're pretty much the same person, which it's hard to argue that because they kind of are. And then the end, and then we get I guess an ending credit scene with it's ongoing with the credits. We see them making up with their lovers that they were actually having on the side this whole time, which was actually handled pretty well. This movie, like, they didn't focus on it too much. It wasn't as much of the story. The end. So how'd I do?
I mean, I'm going to pass you. You would probably definitely do better in these scenarios than I will because I'm just such a note taker. I rely so heavily on them. I can't remember if you specifically mentioned how their agreement, like the first part of the agreement, was how they got Carissa in trouble for the illegal drugs that she was growing in the greenhouse.
I did not.
So
No, I just
that
skipped
was
over that.
yeah, that was the first part. So that was kind of for Eleanor. So the rest of the movie was supposed to be, Drea's side, which is kind of where she was getting really frustrated with Eleanor because she felt like Eleanor wasn't really holding up her end very well. And it was also the part of the movie where you really started to see their friendship kind of start to break down
Yeah.
because they got really close. It was a really cool bond. And I was so glad because I thought for a split second that they were going to play the angle where Eleanor was going to fall for Drea. And I'm glad that's not the approach they went because, Eleanor already had a connection with Max's sister.
Yeah.
So that was kind of being explored. And then Drea, I think it was Russ, was kind of the guy so it really focused just on a pure friendship, which is which really played well into our theme. And I was glad they didn't
Yeah, it was
change that up. There was a split second, I think, when probably the first time they really bonded really well, and like Drea kind of had her head on Nora's shoulder, and she was kind of consoling her. And I was like, "Tell me, she's not going to fall for her." So luckily they didn't go
yeah.
that angle. Yeah, and it showed kind of their love interest kind of off and on. And that whole party at the end, that was kind of like an exclusive. What was it? You had to show an admission letter to an Ivy League school just to get in,
Yep.
and no phones. So there couldn't be any video. So this was Nora's evil plan, was to expose everybody, as well as make Drea be the fall guy for it.
Yeah.
Because she'd mentioned to her, it's like Drea had mentioned to Nora when she knew of Nora's evil plan from the beginning. It's like, I've already lost Yale. What else can you do to me? She's like, I don't want you to get into any school.
Mhm.
She's like, it was so crazy how it's like, and that's where I think Maya Hawke did such a great job, because you see this very vulnerable, sweet girl, and then on a dime, man, she switches to like, holy crap, this chick is psychotic.
Yeah, she
Uh,
did a great job.
it does make you wonder, at what point would she have backed off the plan? Because I think she would have backed off up until Drea completely forgot about her birthday, and kind of showed her true colors when she barged up into the party, and that they kind of had the argument. I think at that
Yeah.
point on, her psychotic plan was fully on. I think up to that point, I think, would have backed off and probably just would have helped Drea with what she wanted, and then probably would not have saw it through. But at that point, she went full psychotic, like you said, even purposely hit her in the car, which I
Yeah.
was like, wow, I could not believe it.
Yeah.
That scene really shocked me.
Yeah. All right. So what'd you let's see. I guess before you get into it, we can rate this out of, is it my week to do it?
It is.
Okay. Out of five nose jobs. Out of five nose jobs, how many nose jobs would you give this movie? Or well, tell me what you would tell me what you thought about this movie, and then tell me how many nose jobs you would
Okay.
give this movie.
I went into the movie with, I would just say, mediocre expectations. Um, like I said, I love the two lead actresses. That was the one thing I was excited about. Um, I kind of knew the premise of the movie, and I can't say I was super excited about that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, probably about 30 minutes in, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to care much for this movie, but it really picked up for me, and I really got invested. And then to see them bond, that's kind of what pulled me in. And then when they threw the twist at you, you're like, all right, you really got my attention now. And it finished really strong. So all in all, I was very pleased. I'm gonna have to give it I'm gonna give it 3.5 nose jobs.
All right.
Great. I mean, I don't know about you, but the chemistry between Drea and Eleanor, or Camila Mendez and Maya Hawke, I thought was superb. I would love to see them do more stuff together.
Yeah.
I thought they fed off of each other really well. Like I
I
said,
mean, honestly, I think Camilla, but she is just such a charismatic person in general. I think it's hard to not have, chemistry with her, with anybody, honestly. Like um I don't know, she's not necessarily the best actress, but as far as like the energy that she puts on screen is always just phenomenal. And I think when she's acting, I think that the people in her scenes can like feed off of her energy. And I think that that's what makes for her great chemistry. Um,
yeah, and I noticed that, like, even like on social media and just in their interviews, that they obviously hit it off really well,
mhm.
while filming this movie. So you can tell there's a strong friendship off the set.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's going to lead to them doing some more stuff together. But yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, I was a little concerned early on with how much I was going to like it, but in the end, I especially with the type of movie it was as far as the premise. I ended up really liking it, and would love to see more stuff from those two ladies, especially together.
Yeah, it was great. Um, all right. So, I agree. I loved everything about this movie, honestly. I was kind of like you though. At the beginning, whenever I first started, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. Um, I thought it was gonna be a little bit more of a, I guess, I don't want to say this and seem like offensive, but made for, I guess, the female audience in mind, like a teen female audience in mind, much like Sierra Burgess is a loser.
Hmm.
Um, but I will say, even if it was, this movie was one of those movies that I feel like is better than like I feel like it's doing what Sierra Burgess was trying to do, but this movie succeeds in ways that Sierra Burgess did not. Um, I thought this movie was great. It got a little bit darker than I expected it to.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie was also I didn't catch it until the second time I watched it, but this movie was totally just like a throwback to some of the 90s movies. The more mature 90s movies that were like aimed for teens, I guess, kind of like a Cruel Intentions type vibe was kind of like
Hmm.
what I got from it. Um or like a Mean Girls, like where it's
Or
like let's take over
like
the crew and everything, and like yeah,
I think of Heather's.
or Heather's, yeah, even Heather's. That's another good one. Um, and the music in it, I don't know if you caught that, but the music in
Oh,
this movie,
love the music.
the music in this movie the whole time was 90s, and I was like, I caught that the first time I watched it, but then the second time I watched it, I was like, this movie could have been made in the 90s, and it's just like perfect, like the vibe of it. Yeah, it was honestly, it was really a hard movie to even talk about, and like it's hard to like really just talk about a certain scene that I love, really, but like yeah, the vibe of this movie, which is great. There was definitely it was close to 2 hours long. So there's definitely some parts that were like, kind of like drug on for sure. And I did find myself, glancing at my phone quite a few times. So I kind of always, knock a film for that whenever it's kind of like hard, especially the first time I'm watching it, for me to not, get super caught into it. It kind of lets me know that, like, well, they could have at least, cut out something for me anyways. So,
Yeah, it's definitely
I'm
unusual for that type of movie because I noticed that before I started. I was like, wow, this is a full 2 hours.
yeah.
And unusual for that type of movie to run that long. So, yeah, you're right. They probably could have easily chopped off 15, 20 minutes easily.
Yeah, and it seemed like they revealed that, I guess, that that Nora, that Eleanor, I guess they revealed that so early that it just felt like there should have been so much movie left after that. And I think that was where they could have cut some of that film out, was after the reveal of her being behind everything, maybe cut off, 10 or 15 minutes in between there somewhere. Um, but you know, even with that, I'm actually gonna completely agree with you at 3.5. Because this movie, I'm hesitant to give it, a solid 4, because I don't think it's perfect, or even like close enough to perfect. There's some of the films that we've given a 4, or that I've given a 4, I would definitely watch those, you know, multiple times. This one, I'm not 100% sure, but I will definitely be recommending this movie to, more than someone that would just be into a teen comedy. If I wouldn't just recommend it to everybody necessarily, but it's definitely for a broader audience can appreciate this than someone that's just, I guess into teen comedies, or something like that. This definitely does a better job of reaching that audience.
It was also one of those where, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch this one a second time. I usually, the ones we cover, I usually do watch twice, but didn't get that opportunity. But I immediately wanted to watch it a second time
Yeah.
because anytime there's a twist like that in a movie, you want to go back and see all the stuff, knowing what you know, and try to go back and pick up on things. Like no knowing Nora was behind it from the very beginning. She went to that tennis club for a reason,
Yeah.
and it was all her master plan. So I wanted really bad. I want to go back and see it, knowing all that now, to see if I pick up on anything. And I don't know. You just tend to appreciate some of the scenes more,
I
knowing the
mean,
mastermind behind it.
yeah, and honestly, like watching it, I mean, I don't know if it was just, my mind playing tricks on me or if it's just um Maya Hawke being the amazing actress that she is, but it does look like, there's some subtle, facial tones that she's kind of putting on where it's like, oh, it kind of seems like she's overacting it just a little bit, but you didn't really notice it the first time, but you kind of notice it the second time because she's such a good, she's actually such a good, actor that she can put that subtle hint on that performance and you don't even notice it till the second time knowing that information. So it was great. um I love the movie.
And you're talking about the music earlier. The music kind of made me really think of 10 Things I Hate About You,
Yeah.
kind of that similar vibe. And then and then the whole scene with Drea and Russ throwing the
Oh yeah.
paint throwing the paint at each other.
Hmm.
I immediately went back to, of course, Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger.
Yeah, see,
Rest in peace.
I don't know if you ever watched the Cruel Intentions. Did you ever watch Cruel Intentions?
I did, but it's been so long. I
Even
don't.
the shot of them when they're in the old car at the end and they're driving and it pulls away on them driving down the
Mhm.
road. Even that shot reminds me of Cruel Intentions, like
Oh, okay.
that a shot from that. So it's like this movie was just like full of just like throwbacks to those 90s like teen comedies without being a straight, like
Yeah.
remake or something. Yeah.
And I'm sure you called it the little. It was a scene between Eleanor and what was her name? Was it Gabby? Her love interest.
Hmm. That
It
was
was a
Max's little
scene.
sister. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a scene with them, but obviously they paid major homage to Taylor Swift. And when Gabby was talking about, I want to see the Eleanor that I first met.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I'm sorry, but she can't come to the phone right now. She's dead." So I thought that was really cool. They really played on Taylor Swift song there.
Yeah, that was good.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I would agree. And it was funny because going into this podcast, I would have put good money on. I was like, this is going to be the one me and Parker agree on. I felt pretty strong that we were both going to give it like a 3.5.
Yeah.
The only thing I wasn't sure about, I said, will Parker go to a 4? Because I debated whether to go to a 4, and I was like, nah, this one definitely plays better at 3.5. Um, so yeah, not surprised at all. Is this the only one that we've agreed on completely?
I think we agreed
I,
on one of the horror films.
I know we've had some that we were close, whether it was like 4, 4.5, or 3.5 and 4. I couldn't remember if we had one that it was like exact.
I think, I mean, I don't know. We can say it is just for fun. Maybe somebody can correct us. Um,
It's possible Black Phone. Maybe we gave the same score, but I can't remember.
yeah.
But there was definitely movies that we agreed on as far as we both thought really highly on. I just not sure if we gave the exact same score. Um,
Yeah, I think, I mean, it might be, honestly. Um,
so
yeah.
who would be your dude or dud?
Um, my dud is gonna be Max.
Man,
Um, because he was just a total turd. You know, he did the whole fake woke thing. He did fake, you know, I just people like that are just the worst, honestly. I can't stand the people that put on a good face for evil intentions. There's too many people like that. So, that and just the fact that he was just a douchebag in general, just POS all around. And I know I took yours, so I'm probably your dud of the week.
I'll switch it up a little bit then.
All right. Audible.
My my dude of the week is Max. Now now everything you said is spot on, but we've talked about it before. A movie or a series is only going to go as far as the bad guy.
Yeah.
And this dude plays the bad. We saw him, in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Uh, sort of a bad guy, but I mean, he plays the role really well. And if you don't play that role well, that show or movie is not going to do really well. And he's really good. Like I said, I feel like I keep seeing his face pop up in all these movies I'm watching, and I go back and I'm like, oh yeah, he played in this and that and some other stuff, and I really like him as an actor. Um, and he played obviously for you to say all the things you did about him, he played it well to get
Yeah.
you to dislike him because his character is man just will rile you up for so many different reasons. It's one thing to be evil, but to portray yourself as, like you said, being woke and uh, just being this great golden boy, and it's just all fake. Um, I'd rather someone that's evil know they're evil and they're portrayed as evil.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'll pick the same guy just for different reasons.
You're picking the actor. I can deal with that. All right. Um,
So I do have our off topic question of the week for you.
okay.
Obviously, this is being recorded 2 days after Thanksgiving. So, in the honor of Thanksgiving, what is it? Is it turkey or is it ham? Who's the king of Thanksgiving meat?
Honestly, like you have to have a turkey there, and I'm gonna eat turkey because I love turkey and dressing. But if given the chance, I would prefer ham over turkey. If we're just going straight up turkey or ham. But ah, as much as I love ham, I would much rather. I feel like ham is definitely more of a Christmas. Like I feel like Christmas is definitely have to have ham on Christmas. But if I don't have a ham on Thanksgiving, I'm not too upset about it. But I feel like it's not Thanksgiving without some kind of turkey for sure.
Yeah. So for me, it's turkey only because it has to come with dressing, stuffing,
See, that's what I'm
whatever you
saying.
call it, and some gravy. But on its own, I would agree with you. Like, if there's not other stuff mixed in with it and it's just on a plate by itself with no assistance from all of its other teammates,
Mhm.
it's ham every day, in my opinion. Because turkey by itself, I mean, it's kind of dry. There's not a lot of taste to it. But man, you mix it with some dressing and some gravy, and man, it just works.
Yes.
And the weird thing is when I didn't start like dressing probably until I was married. Uh, and I was actually telling my mom this at Thanksgiving meal because it was a bunch of my family, a bunch of Steph's family. So we had a pretty big gathering. I was telling her, I said, you know what? I'm kind of mad at myself that I grew up in all my younger years not eating dressing. I
It's the
was like,
best, man.
it's like my favorite part now. And it's, you always have to make that difficult decision because there's usually so many foods to choose from. And it's like, do I just get a little bit of everything I like? knowing that I'm going to be so full that I won't be able to get more turkey and dressing, or do I just get as
That's what
much of the?
leftovers are for, man.
Yeah, that's just or do I just get as
Go
much
plates.
turkey and dressing as I possibly can, knowing that you know I'll get the sides the rest of the year. And it's like we say this every year. It's like, why do we reserve certain foods that we love just for the holidays?
Yeah.
Like sausage cheese balls. Oh my God. I love sausage cheese balls,
Yeah.
but we only make them or eat them like November and December. And you can really eat them any time of year.
Oh, not me. I eat them whenever I
I
want.
just, so I mean, I just don't get it. It's like turkey and dressing, man. I could have that every month easy. Um, it's almost like we're just conditioned to do that for some reason.
Yeah, not me. I'll do whatever I want. I'll have breakfast for dinner. I'm a rebel. I'll do whatever I want.
I hear you. Of course, I'll eat it anytime, but just find the right people to make it all year round.
Be the change you want to see in the world, Jeff.
There you go. I'm going to purposely make sausage cheese balls like on March 7th.
Do it, man. Make them for St. Patrick's Day. There's
Oh,
no rules.
make them green.
Yeah, there you go, man. Green, you can eat some green balls on St. Patrick's Day.
I'm going to do it.
You can make them with some green eggs and ham and have green balls.
Mm.
There you go, man.
Now I'm craving food, turkey dressing and sausage cheese balls.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so I'm a complete idiot and I totally forgot to put the poll up this past week, due to me just being a complete idiot and just being busy in general. I forgot to put up the poll for listener's choice for our holiday month, which is going to be in December. So, I didn't realize that until we were about halfway through this episode that we haven't really talked about what episode is going to be next. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about my pick, I guess, and just jump on that grenade. And so next week we are going to be watching Ernest Saves Christmas, which can be found
Oh,
on Disney Plus. It is one of my favorites. So I'm super excited about that. Um, I don't know if you've ever watched. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you had to have watched the. You were a Southern kid in the '80s, so I'm sure you watched some Ernest movies.
yeah, I'm definitely familiar with them. I'm trying to think if Ernest Saved Christmas, if it's one of those where multiple times I've seen scenes. I
Hmm.
just can't remember if I've actually sat down from start to finish. And if I have, I can honestly tell you I don't remember much about the movie. So probably in a lot of ways I'll feel like I'm watching it for the first time.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the Ernest films. I'm not sure if this one is. So I'm gonna need you to look up that trivia. But a lot of these were filmed pretty close to Nashville. I know the Ernest Scares Stupid, the one where he's like got the trolls. I know that one was filmed really close to Nashville. But I think most of them were filmed in Tennessee. I'm pretty sure. So um, that was I did not learn that till much later in my life, and that was always cool. Like because I loved the Ernest movies growing up. So excited about this
Nice.
one.
Looking forward to
Excited.
it.
All right, so we can check that out next week with us. Jeff, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, thankful for all our listeners and allowing us to, do this crazy podcast and just something we kind of enjoy doing. And I just hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And, looking forward to celebrating Christmas with everybody as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And pretty much any holiday, whatever you're doing, celebrate it with us. We don't care. Yeah, thank you, Jeff, so much for doing this with me tonight. Thank you, like he said, but thank you for everybody for listening. We appreciate you so much. If you have anything or any questions or any comments or suggestions about what we're watching, you can email us at streamingwith2dudes@gmail.com or request to join our Facebook group at Streaming with Two Dudes. On there, just request to join us and we'll accept you. If you'd like to support us, links to our Patreon and our socials are in the show notes. Thanks again. And remember, if you're a little crazy and you become best friends with somebody, they're probably crazy too.